The day that a lot of people have been waiting for in the Nationals community. Robert Hassell III is making his Major League debut today, but will he stick?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course, the video version over on YouTube. Again, just search Locked On Nationals. And later on in today's show, we will be previewing the Braves and the Nationals. It is raining today, but maybe they'll get this game in. I believe there is a pretty good chance they will. And of course, it is Robert Hassell's debut. So we'll have that preview for you as he goes up against AJ Smith-Shawver for the Atlanta Braves. We'll have that preview later on in the program today. In the second segment, the Nats offense. Let's talk about that. Dillon Cruz went yard yesterday, although he did get pulled, and we'll see who's on the IL. But right now, Robert Hassell time, man. The kid is making his debut, one of the Nationals' top prospects, but will he stick up in the bigs? We'll have that discussion for you. But today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. And take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Robert Hassell III, a former first-round pick by the San Diego Padres in that Juan Soto trade, is making his debut in tonight's contest against the Atlanta Braves. Now, it comes after Dillon Cruz, who was off to a really good start over these last few games here, hit a home run yesterday's game about 10 rows deep into left field. He is now likely headed towards the IL. Jacob Young is also banged up with that shoulder injury. We have not seen him since the weekend against the Orioles. So I would assume it's going to be Cruz going to the IL, but I don't know at this point. He's getting an MRI today. Mike Rizzo was on with the Sports Junkies earlier on this morning. He did not disclose who will be on the IL, but he did confirm that Robert Hassell III is in DC and he's ready to make his debut against the Atlanta Braves. So here's what to expect with Robert Hassell III. Number one, Robert Hassell III has been on fire as of recently. Dating back to last spring training with the Nationals, he killed the baseball even then. And this year, this was kind of his breakout season. Number one, health. That has been the discussion around Robert Hassell III. A few years ago at this point, he broke a bone in his hand. And then, obviously, when you have a hand injury in baseball and really in any sport, it's going to affect you and really affect your swing at the plate. Because a lot of people will look at his numbers and say, well, he didn't really put up a high OPS. He wasn't hitting for average. And he certainly did not hit for power. Well, you fast forward this year, he started off a little bit slower in AAA, but over this past month, when again, he has been healthy, he has been putting the ball in play, he's not striking out nearly as much as what we have seen the last few years, and he has put up insane numbers in the month of May. Last night, he went 3 for 4 with 2 doubles, in which, by the way, he skyrocketed a couple of those, but in the month of May so far, he's batting .365 with a .603 slug. He's got 4 home runs, 16 RBIs, 3 doubles in just 16 games. That's the kind of potential that Robert Hassell has. When we originally traded for him back in the day, which again was 2022, back in the day, it's nearly 3 years ago at this point. Oh my gosh. But I thought that Robert Hassell would be the first guy up in the bigs. A lot of people did. And he's kind of been the forgotten name in a sense, because we see what James Wood has provided. You see what MacKenzie Gore has also, and CJ Abrams. All 3 of those guys have been great up in the major leagues, and we'll talk about that trade later on in today's show and just kind of revisit that. But Robert Hassell III has been that forgotten prospect. And he shouldn't be, by the way. This is still someone who, in my opinion, like, forget the prospect rankings and where he is. As far as potential goes, he is a top 5 prospect in this system. And in my opinion, could be one of the better guys in this Nats outfield. Now, again, James Wood, he's got a different skill set. Dillon Cruz, I think he does also. But we seriously talked about Robert Hassell III being that third outfielder for the Nationals moving forward. And earlier on this month, I even said, like, Jacob Young, he's great defensively, but what is he doing at the plate? He has picked it up a little bit offensively here, but Robert Hassell III, not only is he a great defender in center field or in right field or in left field, whichever position he decides to play, the Nationals also have a much higher ceiling offensively with Robert Hassell III. Looking at his numbers so far, he's 23 years old and he doesn't turn 24 until August. And this year, across, again, how many games now? 43 games. He's batting .288 with a .742 OPS. If he can have that translate into the major league level, let's say he bats .280. It's not going to happen right away. You've seen the kind of trend with prospects lately. It takes a while for them to get going. It takes a little bit for them to get acclimated to major league pitching. But if Hassell can show flashes offensively, the Nationals might have their third outfielder. That's the kind of potential that this guy has. Because I believe in James Wood. He is a superstar already. He's 22 years old. He's going to be a star, and he is a star already. Dillon Cruz, you've seen the flashes and why the Nationals are so high on him. You understand why he was the number 2 overall pick. But then you get to Robert Hassell III, a 2020 top 10 pick from the San Diego Padres out of high school, still only 23 years old, has had a lot of injuries with the Nationals, and now that he is healthy, he is putting up big numbers. And again, I want to reiterate this point. He's only 23 years old. This is still a very young prospect. It's going to take some time. He's not going to click right away. So however long he has up in the bigs, if Dillon Cruz is put on the shelf or Jacob Young for a week or two, Robert Hassell III is probably going to have to hit right away for the Nationals to make any move. And they're not going to send Dillon Cruz down to AAA. If anything, it's going to be Jacob Young. But Robert Hassell is going to have the runway here. Because I always like talking about ceilings. And when you're a rebuilding team, which the way that the Nationals still are at this point, you have to think of it this way. Who has the highest ceiling? If you're to pin Robert Hassell and Jacob Young together, it's Robert Hassell, and it's not even close. He has got plus defensive capabilities. He's got a plus arm. And also, he's got some sneaky power that not many people talk about, but he does have a pretty loud sound off the bat when he makes some good, solid contact there. But that's not what he's going to be. What he should be is a high average guy who gets on base, who does have some power and can hit doubles and find the gap here and there. He's got a sweet left-handed swing, and I think a lot of people will really like what they see from Robert Hassell III. So he makes his debut tonight for the Washington Nationals, and this is, again, a big one. Because we talked about the Juan Soto trade basically every month for the last 3 years. You've seen James Wood, you've seen MacKenzie Gore, and you've seen CJ Abrams, who 2 of those guys are just on fire right now, including CJ Abrams, who's been putting up some of the best numbers in baseball. But now it's time for Robert Hassell III. And Mike Rizzo was on with the Junkies this morning, and they asked him a question regarding his prospect status and like the rankings. And Mike Rizzo kind of said, this is verbatim, but he said, throw the rankings out the window. This guy has got talent. And the Nationals are still very high on this kid. They believe in him. And he does have the potential to be a very good major leaguer for a very, very long time. He's good defensively, but the big question is going to be surrounding his health. Can he stay healthy, and can he hit up at the major league level? That's going to be the big thing that I'll be watching for. And I'm excited to see Robert Hassell III in tonight's contest and hopefully over the next week or so starting in center field, because this guy has got the potential to be a very good major league player. So we'll have that for you later on. The Nationals, they got to play tonight with Robert Hassell III debuting against the Braves. It's not going to be an easy matchup. The Braves are still red hot, but the Nationals, they have won 4 straight, and it's thanks to their offense. We'll discuss last night's game after we tell you about our very good friends over at Monarch Money. And do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out and online shopping and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, give you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center that you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. You stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch Money, it kind of just created my own little portfolio where I could check different accounts where I'm spending too much money on Uber Eats or whatever it may be. And honestly, it made me realize I do spend too much money eating out. I do spend too much money having deliveries to my door. So, and this with Monarch Money, it's kind of helped me put together a nice little strategy so I can keep those things away, but also have the good things in wealth. So instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch Money to check your finances and track spending and even plan some long-term goals to help your finances. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Again, code LOCKEDONMLB. Use it at monarchmoney.com. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So the Nationals, they won tonight's ball game. That is our last night's ball game. That is 4 wins in a row for the Washington Nationals, and it came with a Dillon Cruz home run, his first at-bat of the game. Then, of course, got pulled in the 6th inning of that ball game yesterday. Kind of had a check swing there and tweaked his back. This has been something that he has been dealing with since the Braves series last week in Atlanta. And honestly, I'm hoping for best case scenario. We have not really heard what's to come at this point. It doesn't seem to be too serious at this point, but he was pulled in yesterday's game. And again, he has been really good over this past week. But I want to talk about this real quick. James Wood, CJ Abrams, they each both rank in top 15 in Major League Baseball in OPS. With tonight having Robert Hassell III making his debut, you have James Wood, who is killing the baseball. You have CJ Abrams, who is batting north of 300. He has an OPS almost as high as Pete Alonso with the New York Mets, and he is hitting up there with the best of the best. And now you have Robert Hassell III. And then in tomorrow's game, you have MacKenzie Gore starting on the bump. 4 of the 5 guys in that Juan Soto trade are going to be up in the bigs, making an impact. Let's revisit that Juan Soto deal real quick. How do you feel about the trade right now, today? If you don't feel great, I don't know what you're watching. And yes, you traded away a generational prospect. Or not prospect, a generational piece with Juan Soto. We all know that Juan Soto is a future Hall of Famer, one of the best hitters that I have ever seen in the game. You can't really replace that. But if you're telling me that you can replace Juan Soto with an all-star shortstop, which CJ Abrams is, and at this point in time, I don't care what anyone says, he is one of the most valuable players in baseball right now. James Wood, crazy power to both sides of the field. Kind of reminds me of Juan Soto in a bit, with the power going to the left field from the left side of the plate. Not many people can do that the way that James Wood can. Then you also look at MacKenzie Gore, your MLB strikeout leader. He has strikeout stuff. He's got some of the best stuff in the NL East, and he is your Nationals ace, and he is going to be a top 2 starter for this team, hopefully for the next decade. And then you get to Harleen Susanna, a 20-year-old down in the minors who throws 102 miles per hour, has the potential to be a very, very good starter for the Nationals moving forward. And he's got strikeout stuff. And if he's not going to be a very good starter, then he'll be a great closer. He's going to be a great piece for this Nationals team. And now you have Robert Hassell III up in the bigs. This Soto trade is going to go down as one of the best trades of all time across sports. I cannot tell you enough how good of a job that Mike Rizzo did in that deal to get 4 guys who are already up in the majors, 4 guys who have the chance to be impact everyday kind of players, and MacKenzie Gore, not an everyday player, but still someone who could be an ace. And then you still have a 20-year-old prospect who is 6'6" and throws 103 miles per hour already in AA Harrisburg. What a trade that was. In the moment when the Nationals first made that move, I think a lot of people were upset. It was the end of times. Everyone always knew that, like, well, if Soto's gone, then there's not really much to watch for anymore. But now you're starting to see the benefits. You saw CJ make an all-star game last year. James Wood is just tearing the cover off the baseball at this point, killing it. And then you have MacKenzie Gore, who has been off and on leading Major League Baseball in strikeouts this season. And now you have Robert Hassell III, who is finally healthy with the Nationals and finally putting together a very good season in AAA. And now he gets to call up to the major leagues. That trade is going to go down as one of the best trades of all time. It just is. Juan Soto is an incredible talent. He is awesome. But with where the Nationals are, it's hard to ignore the fact that we won that trade in a major way. You got 4 huge prospects from that deal. Again, Gore, Abrams, Wood, Hassell, and Susanna. That's 5. Susanna is a number 2 prospect in this system and a top 100 prospect regardless of the site that you check. And Robert Hassell III, as far as ceilings go, he's got one of the higher ceilings in the national system right now. So yeah, he might be number 11 on MLB.com, but this guy's got more than that. And if things were right, if he was healthy, number 1, he'd already be in the bigs probably sometime last year. And number 2, he'd be really good. It's about health for him. I can't just sit here and be giddy about the move. This is why the Nationals made this move. And yes, the Nationals record right now, while you're a couple games under 500, you're kind of out of the wild card hunt at this point in May. But this is why you make that move. To have an opportunity to have 3 major everyday players, 3 guys who could make a very big impact on this team. James Wood, who could be an MVP someday. CJ Abrams, who's going to be an all-star shortstop for hopefully the next decade. And now you have Robert Hassell III, who's reaching the major leagues also. It's easy to make this comparison, but with Robert Hassell III, I look at Pete Crow Armstrong with the Chicago Cubs. I'm not saying he's going to be Pete Crow Armstrong, but that's kind of the comp that I use for him. A very good defensive outfielder, and he's got a very high ceiling offensively. Now, Pete Crow Armstrong is putting up an insane season, so don't expect him to put up Pete Crow Armstrong numbers just yet. But that's the kind of stuff that Robert Hassell III has. And I think if you're a Nationals fan out there, looking at this trade, think to yourself, would you rather have Juan Soto right now or these 4 guys up in the majors? Because if you took those 4 guys out of the majors and you just had Juan Soto here, this Nats team would be nothing at this point. This would be one of the worst teams in all of baseball if you don't have Abrams, if you don't have Gore every 5 days, and if you don't have James Wood in the middle of your lineup. This trade changed the Washington Nationals. And if it was not for that trade, think to yourself, where would we be? We would be nowhere. We would have so much less talent, it would not even be fun to talk about this team. It would be a miserable experience, and no one would care. So there's some positives for you. And for all those people still upset about the Juan Soto trade, you're wrong. This was the right move. And tonight, Robert Hassell III, he's got an opportunity to show why he could be the fourth best piece for this Nationals team, and he's got a high ceiling. I'm excited about it, so let's preview tonight's game. Going up against the Atlanta Braves with A.J. Smith-Shawver on the mound. We've got Trevor Williams for the Washington Nationals. We'll preview that after this. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. We are still waiting for the corresponding move for the Washington Nationals. Will it be Dillon Cruz on the IL? Will it be Jacob Young? We'll have to see, but I would expect the outfield tonight to look like James Wood in left field, Robert Hassell in center, and Alex Call in right field. That's what I expect to see at this point in time, but we'll just have to see and wait for the Nats lineup later on in today's game. But I am interested to see who goes on that IL. I hope it's not Dillon Cruz, but it feels as if after yesterday's game, they'll probably sit him for a few days and see what happens with him. But we'll just have to see what the Nationals ultimately decide to do. But we've got Trevor Williams going up against A.J. Smith-Shawver tonight, a former 7th-round pick for the Atlanta Braves out of high school in 2021. And yes, the Braves have found another very good pitcher. The last time out against the Washington Nationals just last week, really good again. He went 6 innings strong, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 2 walks, and he struck out 6 batters in that time frame. And also only went 86 pitches, so he probably could have gone deeper in the game, but he's only 22 years old, and he's got a lot of potential for the Atlanta Braves at this point in time. Unfortunately for us, we have got Trevor Williams on the bump tonight, who just last year you kind of saw where he was really good in 13 starts, had a 2 ERA, and people were kind of thinking to themselves, like, this is the best version of Trevor Williams, and we were right. That was the best version of Trevor Williams because this year has not been very good. And over the last 4 starts has not been a fun one to be Trevor Williams. He has given up 3+ earned runs in each of his last 4 starts. Last week, going up against the Braves, didn't even last 5 innings, went 4 1/3, had his pitch count rise a little bit, was in a jam there in that 5th inning, and he got rocked around a little bit. He did ultimately not walk anyone, which is good to see because I just hate walking batters in general. Giving someone a free base, it's just outrageous in my opinion. But with where the Nationals are today, you've got a little bit of juice. People are going to be excited. You've got Robert Hassell III making his debut. Maybe Trevor Williams shows up to the yard in a different way. And maybe the Nats bullpen, who, by the way, have looked really good over the last week plus. They've actually been solid, to say the least. Cole Henry in tonight's ball game, you've seen him emerge as one of the Nationals' prime bullpen pieces. He has been awesome to watch so far. So maybe the Nationals, they've got something in the tank for the Braves. And maybe it's just like last year where the Braves are the better team, but the Nationals, they've got their number. And we'll see that tonight, hopefully, because again, the Nationals, it's not going to be easy going up against the Braves. You're going up against a very, very strong pitcher. You've got Dillon Cruz and Jacob Young out of the lineup tonight, presumably. And we'll see what the Nationals ultimately do. But this is going to be a fun one to watch. So, of course, when there is a prospect making their debut, it's always a fun little game. Who's going to dominate tonight? I've got Robert Hassell III. First at bat. He's going to drive one up the middle. A ground ball going past Shawver. And that's going to be his first major league hit tonight. And I also think he draws a walk and makes a very good play in center field. Why not? Let's have ourselves a day. The Nationals won 4 straight games. Let's make it 5 straight games. Take advantage of a young pitcher, 22 years old. He can get a little erratic here and there. Maybe the Nationals get lucky tonight and Robert Hassell III's debut. It's not just talking about him. It's talking about him in a Nationals win. So maybe the Nats get the thing done tonight, but we'll just have to see what they do. So thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Watch Robert Hassell III tonight and go Nats.